It's time for Forward Nation Radio. Now here he is, the host of Forward Nation Radio, David Leventhal.
Welcome to Forward Nation Radio with me, David Leventhal. Thank you for joining us in our first show of the new year. Yes, Trump is still the president. A Republican Party that still watches A Christmas Carol backwards because they like a happy ending is still running every facet of our government, including our court system. And yes, our governing party is still attacking its political opponents, a la third world dictatorships, still undermining our democratic institutions, including the latest, again, the Department of Justice and our deep state, which apparently covers most of the Justice Department. We don't really know where that goes, but we do know it doesn't go to the Kremlin. And yes, right-wing media is still promoting this agenda and letting it happen as this country is fleeced and undermined at the expense of legitimate, real journalism, which is being discredited by our elite and our right-wing media. And yes, we have a president of the United States who thinks about nuclear weapons, gee, they've given me such lovely toys, it's a shame we don't ever get to use them. Nevertheless, hope springs eternal, and November is only 10 months away. So Happy New Year to all. And let's spend 10 months making it a happy year. Certainly making 2018 better than 2017 was. Anyway, the name is right in it was right in the name of the show, Forward Nation Radio. So, it being the first show of the year, let's look forward. Let's start, as we have for so many weeks, with the disgrace of a tax bill, the Fleecing of America. What can we expect during the year from the tax bill? We've been talking at length about we can expect the steady drip, drip, drip as revelation of what they have done leak out, and presumably much of which they didn't even know was happening. What else can we expect to be seeing throughout the year? Well, we're going to get a look into the Republican playbook. I was listening to one of my podcasts, one of the podcasts I enjoy listening to, one of our competition, the Slate Political Gabfest, one I'm happy to give a shout out to. John Dickerson, who also hosts Face the Nation, is on that podcast, and I remember they were discussing the tax bill, and John Dickerson said at one point, well, being a reasonable moderate as he must be, being from our mainstream media, a whole lot of things need to work out just right for this bill to kind of work out anywhere near what the Republicans are saying. He sounded incredulous when he was saying it. But even the whole idea that we are still talking about this bill, a whole lot of things working out just right, what do we think is going to work out right? We can't, our mainstream media cannot come to grips with a president and a political party this spectacularly corrupt. They are still assuming that there is some intent in that bill to do some good, without any evidence backing that up. In fact, they don't want to acknowledge that this is a bill signed into law by President Scrooge, enacted by a Republican Scrooge Congress, and that has Scrooge written throughout. You know, the good one in the early part of the movie, not at the end. That's Scrooge. The bill is treated by the media as if it's something real. It's an attempt to help this country. The media, unlike us, can't come out and just say, this is corruption. They're just stealing from the country. And now they're going to spend at least 10 months trying to make it work for them. Will there be a political price to pay? That is the question that we'll be learning over the next 10 months. Just within the last couple of days, Senator Orrin Hatch has announced that he will not be running for re-election. He will be retiring at the end of the year. Oh, how awful. Who's going to fill that space on Donald Trump's lap once you get up, Orrin? Remember how months ago Orrin Hatch made a statement critical of Donald Trump, i.e. that the man was not qualified to be president of the United States? Well, he got over that real quick. Now the media is talking this up as if it's a wonderful thing, because now Mitt Romney, should he choose to become a senator from Utah, will be the next senator from Utah, will replace Orrin Hatch. And Mitt Romney has been a critic on occasion of Donald Trump. This is where we are in America. We're in deep doo-doo, and we want Mitt Romney to come save us. The guy who inflicted Paul Ryan upon us before it was de rigueur to inflict Paul Ryan upon us. The guy who set the whole groundwork for not releasing your tax returns. This is the guy who's going to join the Senate. He once showed enough independence to call a jackass, and ooh, that's going to set the whole Trump world aflutter. Orrin Hatch has left. The price wasn't from the tax bill or what he's done. If that were the case, he wouldn't have spent the last few weeks kissing Donald Trump's ass over and over and over again. He wouldn't have completely sold out. No, Orrin was unpopular in Utah even before that, and he was going to go. So he was going to take his bonus package, thanks to the Kochs, the Mercers, and whoever else funds the right-wing shit, and he's going to cash in big time. But that's okay, because we're going to have Mitt pretty soon. Could we expect to see political fallout from the tax bill? We certainly should. But they've got 10 months of lying. You know, bullshit like, let's see, what's the latest? Do you know, did you hear this, Damien? Donald Trump has kept America safe from air disasters? Do you know, I think for the first time, it's for the first time in American history, a president has single-handedly stopped air crashes.
Quite a man.
He's unbelievable. Has this ever happened before? Okay, it happened pretty much every year of the Obama presidency, but still, for the first time ever. We laugh, but millions of people in this country just gobble this shit up, and they're going to be gobbling the same shit up about the tax bill. What else is the tax bill going to wreak for the next year? Well, this has been an exciting development from blue states, which is the one I happen to live in. We are now seeing states and cities in America practicing tax avoidance on behalf of their citizens. I love the line on this one when it was pointed out that historically the states haven't tried to look for every single loophole in the tax code for their constituents, but someone, I think it was in the New York State government, said, yeah, but these aren't usual times. And when you have a president and a Congress that has blatantly screwed their political opposition, we're going to do everything we can to fight back. So now we've got the blue states practicing tax avoidance. Next year, the year after maybe, my state and local tax payments could instead be charitable contributions instead, which I will be able to write off of my taxes. This is the new states' rights, civil war. This is kind of funny, but where does this go? At some point, do we have a constitutional crisis because blue states say enough of our funding red states all the time? We give way more to the federal government than we get back. This is the kind of thing that all those judges that Trump and the Republicans have been appointing to the federal bench think is not a good thing. States' rights. Maybe New York should dump some tea into Brooklyn Harbor. This is a good time, you to remember, with the tax bill and others, This is a good time for you to find sources of news you can trust. And while we're glad that some of you have chosen to make Forward Nation Radio a trusted news source, obviously we should just be the tip of the iceberg. If you're like my family, you probably still have some Christmas gifts to give out. We're sometimes a little behind the curve. Here's an idea for holiday gifts, for birthday gifts. How about a subscription to a legitimate news source? How about a subscription to The Nation magazine, Mother Jones? You can get those real cheap. Not to the people I got all those for. Those were really expensive. But other people now, you can get them real cheap. To The New Yorker, the New York Review of Books, Harper's, New York, The Atlantic now, the New York Times, the Washington Post. How about a subscription to a podcast? I've mentioned a few on this show. Slate Political Gabfest, The New Yorker, Political, what's that one called? New Yorker Politics and More, I think. Pod Save America from the former Obama guys. We mentioned recently the Sam Cedar podcast. And there are others. How about sending your friends the gift of information for the current year? Okay, what does the year hold in store for sexual harassment? Back in the news, as Al Franken and his Senate career just ended shortly before we went to taping. Franken has been replaced. What does that mean going forward? How do we deal with the sexual harassment issue? We are very excited that an issue that has needed to be dealt with in this country for a very long time is finally being dealt with. But where's this going to go? Does it have the legs it needs? No pun intended on that one. We talked last time. What does it mean to support women in their quest for equality and respect? Do we have to believe every woman? I know we have a checkered past with dismissing women's claims of sexual harassment, but surely the alternative to that cannot be accept every woman's claims, because there are women on the right. There are women who work for Fox News and Breitbart and whatever else, and they will lie, and they will make stuff up. We pointed out last week, it is interesting at least that Franken's lead accuser was also the one leading the drumbeat to have Shirley Sherrod ousted from the Agriculture Department based on a fake video run on Breitbart. We need to take women seriously, but that doesn't mean we need to believe every claim because it's stated. But just saying that seems to be indicating a double standard, that I'm going to believe my side and not the other side. When there are credible claims, we should believe all sides, but we need to make sure the claims are credible. And then what will those claims amount to? We talked last week, I'm a little sick of the double standard. They go low, we go high, but we keep getting our knees chopped off. What does this mean? Democrats are going to keep leaving office and Republicans are going to keep remaining? We've still got Blake, they call me Mr. Farenthold. Nobody's going to get that reference, but I really wanted to use that Queen reference because there's just something nice about likening the Republican Party to a blatantly gay former rock singer. May he rest in peace. But Blake Farenthold is supposedly going to retire, but he's still there. The president, the groper-in-chief, is still the president and still calling senators whores. Clarence Thomas is still on the United States Supreme Court. How does this play out where we actually find a common solution for the problems of sexual harassment. Because we better look for one, because it's not going to end well, and the whole issue is going to be corrupted. Gail Collins had a great, as she often does, op-ed a few weeks ago in the New York Times on where we stand with sexual misconduct. She wrote, "We've had 3 resignations from Congress this week. One involved a lawmaker asking female staff members if they'd act as a surrogate mother. Try to imagine a female representative inquiring whether men in the office want to be sperm donors." And I thought about that. And I think it's a great article. It's an issue that needs to be discussed. But I think that Gail Collins was actually being too kind to the other side here. It's not the same. This is much worse. Asking a woman to become a surrogate mother is way worse than asking a male subordinate to be a sperm donor. There's a couple reasons for that. One, and apologies to anyone from Trumpland who might have wandered into the show, men have not been persecuted their whole lives. Men have not been treated with a lack of respect in this country. Women have. If a female, if one of my bosses had said, "Would you be a sperm donor?" I wouldn't think, "There you are disrespecting me as a man again," because I'd really have no reason to do that. In fact, I'd be fortunate enough to be in a position to say, "Oh, that's pretty cool. Somebody wants my sperm? Excellent." But that also, of course, points to the other reason why I think Gail Collins was setting too low a bar there and asking if it were okay on both sides. If a woman is a surrogate mother, she has to deal with the pregnancy. She's going to miss work. You are asking a subordinate, someone who works with you, to put herself into a position on your behalf where she will have to miss a lot of work. That is disrespecting her performance in the workplace, her place in the workplace. I would just have to get a cut. And that would be the end of my role as a sperm donor. I would still be able to work just as much as I ever did, and it wouldn't prevent me from doing that. So there is a double standard here in the workplace and without. But we need to draw a distinction between the workplace and not in the workplace. And will we do that going forward? We will understand that women have been given a subservient role in our society, professionally and sexually. But clearly, sexual misconduct that happens in the workplace has to be worse than sexual misconduct that happens in other aspects of our lives. We need in all kinds of ways to be showing during the year that we have respect for women. And yet, there's already speculation that Roy Moore is planning his comeback, back on the scene for Roy Moore, maybe running for Alabama governor. As long as it's okay, at least in one political party, for someone like that to run for political office, women have a long way to come. What to look forward to in the future internationally? And what will America's role be in the world community, assuming the world still exists going into 2019? Yes, that's right. The President of the United States has a nuclear button. I was going to do the, "Oh, I've got a brand new nuclear button and you've got a brand new city." No? But we figure that if you didn't get the Queen reference, you're really not going to get that Melanie reference from the 1960s. But go take that back to your parents. They're going to get that one. We've got a president who thinks it's fun to joke about having a big nuclear button, or a big anything for that matter. Look at what's gone on just in the last few days internationally. Democracy or anti-democracy upheaval in Iran. North Korea reaching out to South Korea, and South Korea reaching out to meet them. Both of them in large part to say screw you to the United States. And guess who said the following? "We are telling the world that it doesn't matter what the nations of the world say. The time has come to express our biblical right to the land. We are telling the world that it doesn't matter what the nations of the world say. And the time has come to express our biblical right to the land. Which member of ISIS said that? No, you'd be wrong. That was Israel's public security minister. These are our allies. Yes, in a time when the world is facing extremism from religious extremists and others, the United States is being run by people whose favorite character in the Game of Thrones is the High Sparrow. Except for all the sex stuff. He was a bit of a prude on the sex stuff, obviously. We've got to have Game of Thrones viewers out there, right? The world has all kinds of things going on, and the United States has given up, abdicated its role in helping to manage it as one of the world leaders. We've gotten rid of our State Department for the most part. Yes, we still have the oil baron as Secretary of State, but the people designed to help sort through these world crises and help manage them are basically gone. So what does the future hold without America having a role in the world community? We won't be there to manage diplomatic crises, but our military will be there to bomb the shit out of the results. The Republicans are worried about a blue wave in 2018. This is coming out all over the media. A lot of the reason we've talked before, a lot of the reason why there are all these resignations in the Republican Congress. They see the writing on the wall. It's time to cash in now before it's too late. Let's hope they're right. We've got 10 months to make sure they are right. Now, how would a normal political party respond to the fact that they are hated countrywide? A normal political party would make efforts to actually govern this country for the benefit of the people in it. Does anybody want to hold their breath thinking that that's going to happen over the next few months? No, they're going to loot it as much as they can, secure their retirement packages, and run out while the going is good. IBG, YBG. Not a normal political party. A normal political party would not be discussing the deep state in reference to law enforcement, our investigative agencies, our FBI. As we indicated in the opening, the one thing we know about this deep state is it's not so deep as to reach the Kremlin. Because we may be worried about a lot of things, but apparently the fact that a hostile foreign power is pretty much running this country is not one of them. And we would be remiss if we finish this looking ahead show by not discussing Russia and the divisiveness coming from this issue. You know, this made-up issue, according to our president. Well, more and more continues to drip, drip, drip out on this one. And we are all holding our breaths, perhaps for months, waiting for the Mueller report to come out, or for Mueller to be fired, whichever happens first. George Papadopoulos, we now know, in May of 2016, had a few too many at a bar and started disclosing to people in the bar that Russia has dirt on Hillary Clinton, including a foreign ambassador, they don't call ambassador, to Great Britain, I believe Australia. That was in May of 2016. And the Trump campaign already knew that Russia had dirt on Hillary Clinton while they were calling for Russia to dump information about the emails to the public. We also, once again, had reconfirmed that responsible people in our government got together with Republicans leading our government and said, we need to do something about this Russia issue. And we should come out as one, united for once, as a country, and say that we will be battling the theft of a U.S. election by a hostile foreign power. And what was the response by Republican leaders? Go screw yourself. We're not going to turn Russia into a partisan political issue. The fact that Russia was tipping the election scales in favor of their party, some might view as partisan politics. But not Mitch McConnell, because he doesn't view anything other than through the lens of his own self-interest. And Paul Ryan, same thing. So we couldn't go public with that one, with that small thing, that small bit of unanimity. Let's all agree that a hostile foreign power shouldn't be meddling in U.S. politics. And instead, they called on it to do just that and steal an election. Bear in mind that Mitch McConnell knows something about partisan politics, because while this was going on, he was busy not filling Obama's appointment to the United States Supreme Court as he was required to do under the United States Constitution. No stranger to partisan politics. He just has a problem with partisan politics that don't work in his favor. What will this mean in the future? Yes, the media is all abuzz today that Steve Bannon has come out in a book that apparently declared the Trump overtures to Russia not only incompetent but treasonous. I don't know where to go with this one. Because who gives a shit what Steve Bannon has to say? The one thing you can learn from this, though, is there is no honor among thieves. And when the shit is hitting the fan in Russia, the vermin are going to scatter like cockroaches, the cockroaches that they are, on this one. And they're going to desert the sinking ship. And this whole administration could come apart. Paul Manafort is still doing the administration's bidding and suing the Justice Department. Maybe we'll have more on that in a future show. What is the basis? We need to win one. And the latest, Carl Bernstein, who helped break the Watergate story, came out and said that Trump's own lawyers have reported to him that they have been lying to Trump about what's going on in the Russia investigation. Because the president is so mentally unbalanced that if they told him what was actually happening, God knows what he would do. So we will continue to see the President of the United States treated like a 3-year-old child for the rest of the year. Oh, so much to look forward to. Did we mention Happy New Year? Anyway, that's it for today's show. We will be following these stories and many more throughout the year. We hope you stay with us. Thank you for joining us today and every day or every week. Like looking forward, go to forwardnationradio.com. That's forwardnationradio.com and get the full experience. You'll see the video from this and every one of our episodes there and on our YouTube channel as well. Please check out our podcast on podbean.com. That's podbean.com. If you like what you heard, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, tell your friends, spread the word. Forward Nation Radio, thanks for tuning in. See you next week.
You've been listening to Forward Nation Radio with David Leventhal.